Good morning. Well, it's Monday. We didn't get very much rain on Saturday, about a tenth, so we're gonna go looking at some fields here this morning. It's a little chilly, but it's supposed to warm up. Phil's getting the air seeder that we just bought unhooked and gonna get the bean planter hooked back up, and we'll see if we can't get in the fields today. So it's in the mid-30s this morning, which is making it very difficult to get motivated to go and plant something. But I decided we better check some fields and look. Everything I've looked at so far is too wet. This one here visually looks too wet. It's actually not that bad in the hole. That's just a little bit wet. But it crumbled for the most part. What I'm looking at though is you see these pockets here that are wet on top. This ground will look completely different in about 5 hours. So maybe we'll look again late this afternoon, but we're not gonna plant anything this morning, I can tell you that. So our ground has a way of wicking the moisture up, more or less. So it's it'll dry off during the day. You get the sunlight and stuff, which not much sun today, but it dries the top of the ground off really well during the day between the sunshine, wind, heat. But then at night, that moisture will actually wick up, capillary action, like it'll wick up to the soil surface, and it'll be damp on top again in the morning. That's a big part of how it dries itself out. And so first thing in the morning is generally not a great time to look at fields because they look wetter than they really are, but it helps bring that moisture from underneath up and make it dry enough so we can plant. So like I said, maybe later this afternoon we'll look at it again, especially if the sun comes out. It is supposed to get up to something like 58, 60 degrees today, so it should be warm enough to help dry some stuff out and not be too bad, but it's too wet right now. It'd be sticky. It'd stick to the planter wheels, gauge wheels a little bit, and will cause some compaction with the tractor and the planter and everything else. So we can't just go out there anytime. So we'll see. Today should dry out some today. Tomorrow looks like a great drying day, sort of sunny and warm, like 80 degrees. So I can almost guarantee we'll be in the fields tomorrow, but then there's another system coming in on Wednesday. So I don't know. We'll see how things go between now and then. Anyway, I got to run to the hardware store and get a couple of things, and then we'll be back to the farm. We're going to get the planters cleaned out, get the seed that's in them out, and ready to go. Sitting in the office watching the grain markets a little bit. Corn's up 21 today. Beans were up like 20. Now they're only up 6, but look at this. Cash bids. $6.91. We might hit $7 corn. That is just unbelievable to me. $15.86 for beans. Crazy. We're still holding on to just a tiny little bit of beans and a few loads of corn. It's not much. Phil's hauling some right now, in fact, but it's fun to say you sold a little bit at the highs, even if the bulk of it was much, much lower than that. All right. We need to get the seed that's in those CCS hoppers out because that's a 111-day corn hybrid that it's going on a field that is way too wet to plant. It won't be the first one that we plant, so it's not what we're going to plant next, and therefore we got to get it out. So we take our box, push it in there, then we take our piece of cardboard, jam it up underneath them doors, hold the cardboard in place. And then we open one of these and let it drain. Get the last one. It's still all over. And now that we've got that side, we go and dump this box back in the box that it came out of. There, I won't use that yet, but on next. Also, it's important you make sure that those doors get closed on the bottom. Do you guys know why that's important? Yes, you do, don't you? All right, I'm just going to pull up here in the driveway and unfold this. I've got a couple of fertilizer lines that we need to unclog. Okay, so we had to come up and look at some wheat. One of our chemical reps is up here, and we got some issues that we need to figure out what the problem is here. See that streak? That is a problem, and it's overlap from the herbicide, but we're trying to figure out what caused it, whether it was some nitrogen in with it, some cold weather, some surfactants. What's causing it, and is it going to be okay? That's what we really want to know. Sort of laying over, I assume that's from the snow. Okay, well, before I could follow up with what we found up there, I got a phone call from a truck driver, and I got seeds sitting in my warehouse, so I gotta go get that guy unloaded real quick here. But what we found is that bleaching was caused by the HPPD in the herbicide that we sprayed down there. That field is triangular shaped, and so the rows, you get a lot of overlap on that one edge, which is kind of what caused that. That coupled with some stress conditions of it being super cold here, kind of caused some bleaching. The chemical rep said it will grow out of it. It should be fine. So I'm not super worried about it, but it's there. It's something we got to kind of keep an eye on and be cognizant of, I guess. But anyway, let's get this guy out of here. Okay, back to this project. So I had to take these orifices out on a couple of rows 5 and 9 that were, the reason is these balls were not floating as high as the other ones. They're all usually fairly level. And when I was finishing up, 5 and 9 were a little low, so I took them apart. There was some crap in the orifice, plugging that up. I also want to clean out my filter while we're parked and unfolded here, and I can get to it, just maybe prevent some more problems the next time we get to plant. Which, by the way, it's getting less and less likely that that will be today. It's not going well. Just the sun. It's not out. No idea what the last thing I recorded was, but I went to lunch, tried to find a seed customer, didn't find them, and I got another truck here, so I'm going to unload it. Well, I got my other box that we need to treat yet, so that is good. Here's the problem, and this is why I hate it. When I order 2 boxes and they send them to me independently, or separately. See the seed size on this one? 2,976 seeds per pound. Look at this one. 3540. Unbelievable. Like that's the smallest seed I have ever seen. Those are tiny little beans. And for some growers, that's not a big deal because they're going to put them in a planter like ours that's got a plate where it's going to singulate out each individual seed. But for other guys, they have a drill that's kind of, you got to adjust seed size to population. And then when they switch varieties, they're not going to be the same. And that means they'll overpopulate one or underpopulate the other, and it's a giant pain in the butt, and I hate doing that to guys. So is what it is, but we got to get them treated. It's possible I'll do it this afternoon. It's possible I won't. I don't know. We'll see. It is so hard to not be in the field planting today. Like, I can't even tell you how hard it is. I've driven around and I've seen probably 5 or 6 different guys out going, but it's too wet. I've looked at fields. I've looked over and over. It's too wet today, and it's probably going to be too wet tomorrow, although it's going to be a lot harder to sit here and not do anything. So I don't know. I don't know what's happening, but I don't want to wreck it. It's still April. It's the 26th of April. We've got time yet, so we don't have to be in the fields, but if it turns wet, I'm going to regret not being. So I don't know. We'll see. This is just the struggle that we go through. Dad and I have been back and forth all day on this, but it's what we're dealing with. So anyway, we had ordered some parts for our sprayer. I'm seeing if they are here. They are. That shed there is super convenient. Man, that's nice. Just walk out there and pick them up. So what we have here is a couple of seal kits. This seal kit is a rather expensive one, and this one was a rather cheap one. Those are both for the same part, basically. I'll show you. It goes in that valve right there. That valve controls the flow of water to the chemical inductor on the side here. This thing, basically it's this line that feeds into the bottom and then goes through this valve and uses to rinse this. Let me put it down. And what's happening is when we mix the chemicals up, this is empty, and then you go and spray and you come back and it's got that in there. So something, most likely that valve back there, is not closing completely, or the seal's leaking when it's under pressure, and we're getting some bypass. So we got new seals for it, which is what those are. The problem is the sprayer is full of 28 right now, fertilizer, and it'll burn the crap out of your hands if you get it on them. So I don't want to work on it. So what we decided we were going to do is just cut that line, that little line that's heading into that inductor. I got a couple of the push fittings, because that's a hard hose with push connect seal fittings, these. And we've got a valve we're just going to stick in there and shut the valve off. This valve. So we'll get that put in there, and then once Dad's been running water through it and it's a little bit easier to work on, we'll get our seal kits installed, and hopefully that'll fix our problem. Either way, that will, and we probably would be all right with just that, but try and fix things right, you know? Dad is working on digging some chemicals out. He wants to spray beans tomorrow. That one. So we need that shuttle. It's most of our bean herbicide, and yeah, and all the beans that are planted, except for our early ones that are already coming up, can get sprayed tomorrow so that the pre-emerge herbicide will be on. All right, I have got 4 bags of corn to drop off to a customer on my way home. So I am going to load those up here and then head out and go do that. So we patiently play, don't break the bags. We patiently play the waiting game today in hopes that maybe tomorrow we can go. At a minimum, Dad's going to be spraying tomorrow, so we can help him do that a little bit if we need to, or we can't be in the fields. But I'm really hoping that we're going to be planting something tomorrow. And honestly, I'm going to get tired of waiting, so we probably will plant something tomorrow. I don't know what time we'll get started. I don't really know. We'll have to look around again and see.